Warmly welcome to a presentation about Orthex, the Finnish consumer goods company. My name is Alexander Rosenlew and I'm the CEO of the company since almost 16 years already. Orthex today is a leading Nordic houseware company with strong brands and sustainable products. We have sales offices in the Nordics and in some of the big major European opportunities, that being for us Germany, the UK, France, and a new one, fairly new one in Benelux. We produce our own goods in our 3 factories, which are located in Finland and Sweden, and we sell our products under our own brands, which are Smart Store for storage products, Gastromax for kitchen products, and then Orthex for home and yard, and also the company name. So 90% of what we sell are under our own brands, and 90% of what we sell are produced in our own factories. We're around 300 employees, and we have a strong focus on sustainability. So here's a little bit more detailed picture about our production units. I think most noteworthy here is that we strive to be able to serve the European retailer wherever they are in Europe and do it efficiently and timely. So in order to produce in the Nordics, you need to be fairly automated, and that we have invested in over the past, let's say, 15 years. So many of our factories are really modern, and that gives us an opportunity to keep production close to the customer in the Nordic markets. We have fast, flexible deliveries, a central warehouse in the middle of Europe, and we are proud of the fact that we produce locally with tight quality and safety control in the Nordic countries. For us, the mission of our products clearly to improve everyday life with sustainable good products, so they all need to tick a box when it comes to having use for them in your home. We're not producing, let's say, things that are not practical, that don't fill a function in the home. For storage, it's all kind of storage in the home, various sizes. I would say we have one of the most comprehensive assortments throughout the world. And I think we are quite right when we note that probably our quality on home storage is the best in the world. When it comes to kitchen products, it's more about making food, what you need, the practical tools you need to prepare, to store your food and so on. Not so much serving or eating or plates and that kind of things. And then we have the category home and garden, which is the smallest one, well known by the Finns because of the buckets and the bins and the mailboxes and so on. And that's about 10% of the turnover, when storage is around 70 and kitchen is around 20. We put a lot of efforts on our designs. They should be easy to have in your home. You shouldn't grow tired of the design. They should be part of the sustainability, because you don't want to throw away design that actually appeals to you. We do long-lasting products, no single-use products. That is one of the key things in our philosophy. And all the products made of plastic in our factories can be recycled after the use. And usually that use period is tens and tens of years. We strive to be the forerunner in sustainability in the industry, and of course this target is, and what it means is moving over time, but for us the first point is actually to produce useful stuff that lasts and don't break. And then about 10% of our sales are coming from new launches, new launched products, for 2 main reasons. One is to follow trends and to make our retail partners successful with new products. The other one is, of course, more of a innovative margin thing as well. When you launch new products, you are able to to price products at a new level, which is interesting to us and to the retailers. So a bit of history. When I started in 2010, the company was fairly small, based in Lohja, with a turnover of around 12 million euros. We started a phase of expansion to become a Nordic platform in our categories, and that included buying the kitchen producers Veikko in Sweden, and then the, let's say, fairly similar company in terms of assortment named Hammarplast in Sweden, and put these three together. At that point we had 9 brands, we had basically quite a blurred structure of products, and we had a production focus. And we turned that around, integrated into 3 brands, into clear responsibilities within the factories, and also shifted the focus to a consumer focus instead of a production focus, and all that it brings. So that was the first period. At that point, the turnover was around 50 million, and since then we have been growing organically through different steps. I think the most important one was making a big step into Europe with our own organizations locally, because clearly it's easier and more efficient for a local person to sell to a local retailer than somebody from Finland or Sweden traveling to, for example, France or Germany or the UK. And the big customers in Europe are in that area. So that was the second step, a strong focus on sustainability at the same time, opening of European warehouses, launching of new successful products. And then we did an IPO in 2021, and since then we've been listed on the stock market in Helsinki on the main list. The ambition is clearly to continue to grow. I've seen the turnover grow 8 times or 8-fold, and for sure, looking at the future, we have a clear ambition to be the number 1 brand in storage in Europe. So why is that? Just a short market study with a bit simplified, but if you look at the Nordic countries, the market size is around 500 million, and there we have quite a significant market share already today. If you look at the 3 biggest markets in Europe, being Germany, France, and the UK, in that order, we are already at around 3 billion, 3.5 billion, if not a bit more. If you add the rest of Western European countries, you can add up to 1.2 billion in our categories. And if you take the whole Europe, we're speaking of an opportunity of around 8 billion euros. Our market share in Europe is still small, but we believe this is the place we can grow, and especially with the storage products. There are some interesting macro trends behind our offering. I think the most important one is actually the migration trend and the size of the households that are declining in Europe. There's a decrease in living space, and if we have more households that are smaller, they still need the same set of household utensils like storage products, like kitchen products, etc. So there's a growth scenario in the long term. There's also some consumption patterns that are interesting, like cooking at home, or at least preparing at home, home organizing, and also when we think about the flower pots, it's about green living spaces in urban environments. Sustainability and the interest for sustainability is high, even though there are some shifts in the pendulum, but I believe in the long term there's a demand for more sustainable opportunities for the consumer to choose products that are better for the environment. So what we want to achieve is quite straightforward, and I think this picture shows you a good comparison to category leaders in specific categories. And if you look at outdoor barbecues, I think clearly Weber comes to mind, at least for some. And if you think about, for example, cutting tools or scissors, it's no surprise that, at least to me, that Fiskars would be the first brand that comes to mind. And in saunas, we are proud to have Harvia in Finland. It comes to mind. And we are on the path to becoming, with Smart Store, the same destination brand when it comes to home storage. So this is what we are building, an appealing platform to be successful on. We commit to many things. One thing that is quite obvious at the moment is that you have a lot of actors that want to show that they are behaving well in terms of environmental things or standards in the factories, etc. And we are one of those, with the exception that when we do a claim on something which is related to sustainability or processes or so on, we take quite big pride in actually being able to show an outside certificate that we're actually doing what we are telling. In Finland or the Nordics, it's quite obvious that we are a long-term trusted company, but on new markets, these things make a big difference, that you are able to show that what you are saying is precisely according to what you are doing. Taking a deep dive into our customers, we are mostly working with different kinds of retailers, retail chains. We speak about discounters, we speak about grocery stores, we speak about DIY stores, and we are in e-commerce. Here are just a few examples of those. What is interesting to notice is that actually if you sell our kind of products, you are present in fairly many different environments and stores. And we believe we can build a solution that works all across this universe and tailor-make it to be the best offering in any channel, in any retail channel. And the idea is to make our retail partners successful. So what we do is we don't sell products with a price only. We sell a cooperation, which means that our retailers should be successful when they cooperate with us. We help with the data on sellout. We help with designing the optimal assortment. We can be the inspiration to how to do campaigns. And we do quite a lot of new product launches. And we want the stores to look good. When we sell organizing, we want the stores to be organized. And this is the way to actually sell more out of the stores and make the consumer happier. The same thing goes on the e-environment. E-com is growing, and we believe that if we can look really good in the physical store, we should also look really good in the digital store. So going to the strategy we are working with at the moment, the goal is very clear. That's to be the number one storage brand in Europe, and building on our leading houseware company position in the Nordics. So we have 3 building blocks that we are looking at. That's keeping the solid growth and keep winning in the Nordics through category management, through bringing new product. But the biggest opportunity, as I see it, is actually accelerating the growth with the big European, pan-European retailers, store by store, chain by chain, country by country. And that's a process where we are we have well started. We are present in many stores, in many customers, but we can still expand that quite a lot. And the third building block is the e-com opportunity, which is increasingly important as both becoming more known on new markets, but also to drive sales, drive trial, etc. And many of our traditional retail customers have both a channel for their stores and then they have an e-com channel at the same time. We are also looking at market consolidation. I personally believe there are opportunities out there. We need to take the right one. We need to take one which culturally fits, which geographically, preferably in somewhere in the middle of Europe, has production and has access to market to speed up our growth, because the 50 million or such 40-50 million we've done organically over the past, let's say, 10 years could be accelerated by by doing also M&A growth. So that's on the agenda, but not at any price. And with a calculated good move, I think we can accelerate our ambition to be the number one storage brand in Europe. Then looking at how do we drive sales then. So we do quite a lot in the stores, and especially when consumers are not too happy to spend money, which we've seen over the 2-3 past years. There's been less spending interest from the consumers around Europe for many reasons. What we do is we actually inspire the consumer, the shopper, to do more, to see, to discover our products. And what better way is there than actually being really visible in the store, where we have every day millions of people walking around doing their shopping. That's a very good place for us to display our brands, our quality, and our know-how. So here you can see an example of a store in France, how our products have been displayed over the summer. And we also help with permanent in-store solutions when a customer might tell you that there's not space in the shelf. What we do is that we ensure with our own solutions that there's at least space on the floor. So these are really helping the retailers to drive sales out of the stores throughout Europe. Just showing some pictures here from Austria, very organized shelves, actually in a discounter environment. Here from a French store where we are very happy that we have, I think, built the longest smart store truck in France. So this really drives sales. Here's a German example from the big DIY store chain Obi, where we were successfully doing a big classic storage campaign, and so on. So the in-store really important, and especially important in these times when actually the consumer is holding back on their spending. Then another thing, these are just new products that we've launched in the third quarter of this year. Pretty happy that we can actually bring completely new things to the market, like the very useful solution on the right, which you can actually store things vertically. You have the opportunity to go in from the front and, for example, put 2 or 3 on top of each other, and why not store shoes and towels or whatever. Then there's a extension of our dry food storage range with a very good pouring capability and a lid that keeps open when you pour. Small things, but when you use the product, you can actually realize how practical it is. And then we have a quite stylish new product range made of recycled material for small storage that you can see on the left. And these are just new products in one of the quarters, so we are bringing new products at least twice a year to the market, and I'm very happy to do so, creating excitement and value. So we've actually just reported our third quarter sales, and that's why I just wanted to give you a short update of what's been going on in the third quarter. So I would say compared to the previous 2 quarters, it was we're speaking about growth, and compared to the third quarter a year ago, we grew. Not that much, but we grew in this market environment, and it was the biggest quarter for us so far, the biggest third quarter for us so far as a company. What we did was we actually pushed quite a lot of sales into the stores. We wanted to see if we can beat the conditions, and it turned out that we were able to do so. We shipped quite a lot at the end of the third quarter, so now we are of course facing those volumes in the fourth quarter, but we are quite happy to see that we are able to activate both the retailer and then the consumer that goes into the store. During this period, even though we were pushing a lot, profitability improved quite well, and that has to do with an overall cost control in many different small streams, no one-off savings or so on. And then we were quite fortunate not to have big fluctuations in raw material prices, maybe a slight downward trend during the period. So that actually gave us quite a strong third quarter. So that brought us to a 2.5% growth on the top line. And then what we are looking at quite a lot is the sales outside the Nordics. And there we had also a growth of 3.3%. Now remembering that the same period last year we grew more than 20%. In the Nordic, we also had growth, even though Nordic has been one of the toughest consumer spending areas for us. We have a high market share, and it means that if the consumer doesn't go to the store, there's less traction to buy products. So in these conditions, I would say fairly in line with our plans and our expectations. EBITDA increased and our margin was at 14.3%. Cash flows healthy, 5.9 million. Then a nice recognition to tell about, and that's during the third quarter as well. We got the EcoVadis silver medal rating, which means that out of a global sample of around 90,000 companies which EcoVadis measures, we are in the top 10% when it comes to these kinds of sustainability performance measures that EcoVadis wants. For us, this is important because our retailer partners, many of them are looking quite closely at this rating, and that positions us well for being a good and trustworthy partner. We invested in product development, as said, and we had a look already at the new products during the quarter. And these are, of course, all made for long-term use, and they are durable and made of high quality. So then if we look at our long-term targets, we look to grow outside the Nordics, and that's mainly Europe, by more than 10% yearly. And then the whole company were looking for a growth of 5%. So clearly the Q3 was not really there, but we believe over time and long term, this is completely doable for us in terms of growth. Personally, I and together with the management team and the company, our ambitions are a bit higher than these. In terms of profitability, we are ambitious at 18% EBITDA. We believe that long term with filled factories, we can reach that number. It's of course quite far from the level we have today, but we have still a lot of spare capacity, and since the factories are highly automated, it means that filling up the spare capacity we have doesn't necessarily add cost in the same relation. In terms of leverage, we look to be below 2.5% net debt to EBITDA. At the moment, at the end of Q3, we were actually at 1, and that positions us well to do strategic investment when and if the opportunity comes along. We pay a dividend, and we pay about a bit more than 50% of the net result, and that we just paid out last time in October. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening in.